I had some ideas. One idea I really liked was Cabinet in the Woods,
Hmm.
which would be like a horror genre. It never really worked out. But there are other genres too. Like there's like the musical road trip, like think like Blues Brothers style, or
Yeah.
the Muppet movie, like the original Muppet movie. Like one of those style, I think would be a fun one to do.
Ho, ho, ho,
Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 468. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're excited to have back with us the award-winning and internationally acclaimed children's book author, Josh Funk.
Hey,
Josh.
thanks so much for having me, Barney. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. This is exciting because I know because you are a published author, you got an agent, you have a you go through, and it's interesting because I reached out to you, I think it was last year, say that having you come back on, and you're like, yeah, I got a book coming out, and I'm like, great, let's nail down a time in the next, I don't know, few weeks or so. And you're like, well, it's coming out next year. So I'm like, okay, so we'll schedule. So this was probably the longest out scheduled interview I've had.
It was over a year. Yeah,
It was
definitely.
over a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, picture books take a long time, man. They take a long time from the time that you have to write all the words, and then once it sells, you got to wait for the illustrator to do all the work and all that stuff. And yeah, but Whodonut came out in September, and it is my 21st book. It is the seventh book in the Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast picture book series.
Wow.
Yeah, it for now it might be the last one in the picture book series, but we're working on doing some fun things in the future that I can't talk about yet because publishing is so slow, and I haven't signed any contracts yet, even though I've written first drafts of things. So, but yeah, this is it's a book about well, Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast. They have adventures in the fridge. They are a pancake and a French toast. They're best friends, and in each adventure, usually there's some sort of fridge problem that they have. And in the first book, for example, the original Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast, the fridge problem is that there's only one drop of syrup left in the bottle, and both characters want it. And I think that's sort of like a fridge problem that you and I might have. There's only one piece of pizza left or one piece of cake, and you got to argue with somebody over who gets to eat it, right? Especially kids. Um, and so they race for the last drop of syrup. That's book number one. And then when I loved Brendan Kearney's art so much. Brendan is the illustrator of all of these books. He's done an amazing job, and I loved his art so much. I wanted to tell more stories in this world, and I thought, what problems could there be in a fridge? We already had there's only one drop of syrup left, but what other problems could there be? And my next idea was, have you ever opened the fridge and smelled something kind of funny? And that's where we get the case of the stinky stench. And in the case of the stinky stench, Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast, they have to help Inspector Croissant try to figure out why the fridge smells so bad, sort of like an adventure mystery. And
Mm-hmm.
then my next idea was, when you open the fridge and things are a little too cold, starting to freeze over, get a little frostbite. Maybe there's ice chips in your lemonade or your cream cheese turns to a block of ice. Well, that's what happens in Mission Defrostable. And in Mission Defrostable, Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast have to help Agent Asparagus try to figure out why the fridge is freezing over. She works for the FBI, the Fridge Bureau of Investigation. And so those are my first three books in the series. I was visiting kids in schools and libraries and bookstores, and the most common question I got was, how are Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast not stale yet? And I thought, you know what? I need to address that. So that's the fridge problem of book number 4
Right.
is, have you ever opened the fridge and you want to take something out and you wanted to eat it and you were excited? It was all gross and moldy and spoiled and disgusting. Well, that's what happens in Short and Sweet. In Short and Sweet, Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast, they have to they do start to go stale, and so they visit Professor Biscotti. She has a despoiling ray, Unfortunately, her despoiling ray works a little bit too well, and it shrinks them into tiny little kids. I think that's the book I was here to talk about last time.
Yeah, it was around that time when you also talked about My Pet Feet. It was around
Oh,
that
and My
time.
Pet Feet was coming out. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a different series. And so My Pet Feet was after this one. And so,
Yeah.
but anyway, I digress. So in short and sweet, yeah, so you can see they accidentally, the Professor Biscotti accidentally shrinks them into tiny little kids. So you can see she's got a little teddy bear. For those of you who are watching, if not, just trust me. She has a little teddy bear, and he has a little blankie with no mustache, and then so these I at this point I realized that each one of the books was a different genre. So the first book was a race. The second book was an adventure mystery. Uh, and the third book, Mission Defrostable, was an action adventure spy thriller. And the fourth book was sort of like a sci-fi comedy magical body swap like Freaky Friday or Big. And then I was like, all right, well, whatever I do next, it has to be another genre.
Right.
And it also has to have a fridge problem. And so the fridge problem for the next one, I thought, has anyone ever opened the fridge and the light bulb was out? So that's what happens in The Great Caper Caper. In The Great Caper Caper, the evil Count Caper steals the light bulb, and Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast have to steal it back. That one came out, I think, right after My Pet Feet, so I might have mentioned that one, but we didn't really talk about it much.
Right.
So in that one, the evil Count Caper steals the light bulb, and so it's basically Ocean's 11 in the fridge. It's a Lost Veggies heist. So that one's a heist, and then the next one, Attack of the Scones. The fridge problem is: has anybody ever accidentally left something in the fridge that didn't belong there? Like the time I opened the fridge and found an iPad that one of my kids left, and so that is the fridge problem of Attack of the Scones, where something's in the fridge that doesn't belong, and others come to try to get it out. And that one is an alien invasion. And then when I was talking to my editors about what to do next, I was throwing out several genres and ideas. And when I suggested a whodunit, which I know I had done a mystery, The Case of the Stinky Stench is a mystery, but a whodunit is a very specific type of like closed room mystery, whereas The Case of the Stinky Stench was like an adventure mystery. So I said to my editor, I said, "What about a whodunit?" And my editor said, "Oh, that sounds great, as long as there's a donut in it." And it was about 6 hours later where my brain registered, "Oh, whodunit, donut. I get it now." So it wasn't during the meeting. It was like as I was going to bed that night. So I felt a little bit dumb, but that immediately had to be the title, Whodonut. And so this one is the fridge problem is: have you ever opened the fridge and you were excited to eat something, you went to take it out, but it wasn't there? Like you remember buying it at the store, you saw it there yesterday, but it's gone. Well, that is what happens in Whodonut. And this one is obviously a whodunit. And Agatha Christie is an author. She has the last book in the Miss Maple series. She's about to read it on holiday eve. And big fans, Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast, won special tickets to get there and to go to her home gingerbread mansion to see the reading, but the book is stolen and disappears. And so they go on a kind of Clue the movie style search for the book, and they split up and go throughout the house. And ultimately, it should be pretty obvious to most third graders and above who the culprit is once you see the list of suspects. But I think that based on my experience, by the way, I'm just saying, when I read it in classrooms, and I'm like, does anyone have any guesses? Shout out who you think did it. When I read it to second and grade and below, it's usually a mix of various characters. But once we get to third grade, everyone kind of figured it out. So, which is
Right.
good. I think you want to be able to solve the mystery. There are clues there. And so, yeah, that is the story of Whodonut, a holiday mystery.
And so, because you mentioned each one out of the 7 series kind of has like a movie genre. Is there a genre that you still want to kind of tap into for this series?
So I had some ideas. One idea I really liked was Cabinet in the Woods,
Mm-hmm.
which would be like a horror genre. it never really worked out. But there are other genres too. Like there's like the musical road trip, like think like Blues Brothers style, or
Yeah.
the Muppet movie, like the original Muppet movie. Like one of those style, I think would be a fun one to do, because Brendan Kearney, the illustrator, he actually adds all these funny, silly band names into every book. So we've got a whole host of musical characters already. Not in the first one, but starting in book 2, they all end with each book ends with what's called a gatefold. It is a page that folds out of the book. And I didn't know that until somebody told me oh, your book has a gatefold. So this is the last page of the first book. You can see
Oh, that's awesome.
down.
Yeah.
This is called a gatefold. And the page before that is usually a wordless spread with the characters all kind of doing their thing. Starting in book 2, that wordless spread was always a party, and Brendan always had a musician playing. In book number 2, it was Spuddy Holly and the Croquettes. In book number 3, it was the Peach Boys. In book number 4, he had Juice Springsteen, along with a whole bunch of other characters on a poster that he didn't actually illustrate, but they were listed. Jimi Hendrix, Lunchbox 20, the Food Fighters. And in book 5, it was Barry Manilow in the Los Veggies one, which was sort of my suggestion, but I regret that because in book 7, it's Elvis Parsley, and that one would have been so much better for that one. And then in book 6, it's Brad Zeppelin. So we already have a whole bunch of characters to play with, and I have ideas for others. So that would be a musical road trip. But there may be ways to do some of that. A sports story could also be kind of fun. They're not always necessarily spoofs of movies specifically. Like Attack of the Scones is really just the title. And fun fact about Attack of the Scones, we had a character in there that was never mentioned in the text. It was actually Attack of the Scones. I read it out loud to a classroom over Zoom that I Zoom with every year. There's a 5th grade teacher on Long Island. We Zoom every year. I've known her for over a decade. And one of her students said to her, and she emailed me about this right after, "Are you ever going to put Obi-Wan Kenobi in a book?" And I was like, "Oh, Attack of the Scones is the perfect one." So I messaged Brendan, the illustrator. Normally we don't talk directly to each other. We usually go through the publisher to discuss the illustrations. But so I messaged him and I said, "Can you add Obi-Wan Kenobi to this one page in the background? Like there's a page that they're all preparing for battle." And I was like, he already looks like a cannoli. Like he's basically a white dude in a brown cloak with a white beard. Like that's what a cannoli is. And so he's like, "Yeah, how's this?" And he drew it. Like he's in England, so he might have been the next day just based on the time. But he sent me a perfect Obi-Wan Kenobi. And he just slipped it into one of the later rounds of the revision. Unfortunately, the legal department saw it.
Oh, yeah.
And now you can see there is a gap on this page right here, right there, next to Juice Springsteen and above Mistake, where Obi-Wan Kenobi used to be. But the legal department made us take it. And you know what? I think it's because he illustrated a lightsaber, or what I called a saber of light. But so unfortunately, Obi-Wan Kenobi was removed from the book. But yeah, so spoofs we got to be a little careful with for copyright purposes. But yeah, I think at the very end of the great caper, they're all standing around a fountain on the last page, like Ocean's 11. If the adults will get that one, and but that's how I write books, and I think we probably talked about this last time too, but it's still true. There. This is the "Welcome to Los Veggies" sign. But I write books that are for the adults to read to children, so that children fall in love with reading. I don't write early readers or leveled readers or things like that. I write books that are meant to be read. Like, I'm sure 3rd graders and 2nd graders and some little kids can read my books, but they're not easy words. They're not the Cat in the Hat style books or Elephant and Piggy. They're meant to be read by an adult, a caregiver, a librarian, whoever, to kids. And I want the adults to enjoy what they're reading. I want the adults to enthusiastically read these books, but I want them to be genuine about it. I don't want, any good librarian can take a mediocre book and read it out loud and make it sound amazing to kids because they're good at that. But I don't want them to have to try. I want them to feel like they are actually enjoying the book. And so that's really one of my main goals as an author, is to try to make it fun for everyone who's like a Pixar movie,
Right.
jokes in there for the adults too.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. Well, I mean, could you mention like with Brendan Kearney and like how much creative flow do you give him when it comes to putting the Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast books together?
I think I usually set him up for things, but I don't tell him too much of like what he should be drawing specifically. Hopefully he'll get the joke that I'm leading to, but if he doesn't, there's a good chance he's going to think of something better, because, I practiced really hard at writing the words of picture books. I did not practice how to draw pictures. And Brendan did. I have no idea how to draw or paint or do anything with the iPads and all Procreate and whatnot. All I know is I practiced really hard to write the words. And Brendan, he practiced hard to write and draw, but he knows how to draw. And so if I were to tell him how to do his job, I feel like that's kind of a little bit silly. And I will probably stifle his creativity more than anything. Now, obviously, the whole process goes through a lot of people. So Brendan might come up with sketches, and maybe the editors think something isn't quite as funny or isn't working or whatever, and it never even gets to me, and I never see that. Or sometimes I think something's great and the editors don't want it, which has happened before. And so, with Brendan's art. And so it's something that I've learned that if I'm too specific and I give too much direction, unless it's for a joke that's really needed or a plot point that's really needed, it's better to let the illustrator have as much freedom as possible, because they know what they're doing. It's a lot better than I do. And, and I jokingly say this, but it's true. If you really want to control how your books are illustrated, you should probably learn how to draw yourself, because that's really the only way that you're going to get exactly what you want.
And do you ever see like any of Brendan's work and like from other authors, and you feel like he's kind of like cheating on you or anything? It's like, what's up with that, dude?
I'm not sure he's done too much with other authors. He's mostly written and illustrated himself. No, I don't really think that. I think that it's no, that's not something that I've ever thought, to be honest with you. Now, if he did another book about anthropomorphic food, that I might feel something about. But
yeah,
besides that, no, I don't feel anything. So, yeah, no, it's, he's got little kids now, and he's got to do what's right for. He's got some great books too. Some of them aren't as he's in England. Some of them aren't as available in the U.S. There's one that my wife really loves called, and it was like a birthday book. I'm gonna look at
is it not Penelope Strudel?
Yes,
and the birthday
Penelope Strudel. Oh, she loves that one. I think it's available here. It's just it didn't like you can order it. It's just not like in a lot of bookstores because it came out several years ago. But yeah, right. Penelope Strudel is awesome. It's almost like a Where's Waldo-y type thing, but not annoying and obnoxious.
Right.
And a little bit more fun and super cute and adorable. So
right.
Yeah.
I think I remember because I asked you this before too. Is there a Josh Funkaverse? Like, are all their characters? Is there a way like all your characters can meet in some situations?
It's really hard to imagine that, just because all of the illustrators are different. If you're an illustrator and you're illustrating all your own stuff, then yeah, that's definitely an option. Like, a Richard Scarry type world, something like that. Yes, but with the different books and series that I have, I just don't think the art styles would really match. So it would be a little bit tricky. I will say that one thing connects all of my books, um, for the most part, so far at least, maybe not my next one, is that there's some element of fantasy to them. Whether you call it fantasy or not, anthropomorphic foods are not necessarily something that's real. A boy and a dragon writing letters to each other, that's got elements of fantasy. The New York Public Library lion statues coming to life is fantasy. A pet ferret turning into feet because the letter R has disappeared has some fantasy elements to it. So all of my books, I think, have some of that. And
Right.
I think part of the reason for that is because picture books are magical and you can do whatever you want with them. You don't have to stick to, it's not just pictures. It's not photography where everything is real. I'm not writing nonfiction. And it's, you're allowed to, in fiction, you're allowed to do whatever you want. And so I would say none of mine are necessarily even realistic fiction. I have a new book coming out in the spring called The Dino Door, which is illustrated by Renee Carilla. You can't find it yet. Any day now, it's going to go up for pre-order. Well, maybe it is available by the time this loads. In this book, it's a little kid finds a door in his room that leads to a world of dinosaurs. And the whole book is written with only 20 different words, and they all rhyme with dinosaur. So it's like dino soar, like you're flying, dino roar, dino oar, like you're rowing. And then the little kid's playing with all these toys, and dino score, he's playing, a sports game with them. And then obviously he sees his chores and it's bedtime, and or it might be a she. I don't think there's any gender to the character. And the character says, dino more, dino chore, dino bore, and then then ends up finding this dino door, which takes him to a fantasy world. And so that one has it too. I mean, they all do. It's a little bit of a Harold and the Purple Crayon meets Journey by Aaron Becker, or Where the Wild Things Are, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, and then I do have one book though. It's called A Celebration of You, which comes out in the spring, which is kind of a kindergarten graduation / baby book. It's a poetic, lyrical, it's hard to describe because I don't have books like this. I would describe it as sort of a Peter Reynolds style emotional journey type of book. A world full of wonder, and celebrating the extraordinary things every day is kind of, the title has gone through so many different iterations, by the way. At first, I sold this book in 2019, and it's been a long journey. It's illustrated by Kip Alizada. Their illustrations are amazing. They've won awards, and it's great. So I love their art. At first, it was called Celebrate. Then they wanted the word you in the title. Then they didn't want the word you in the title. And so it's called Extraordinary. Then they wanted you again in the title, so it was Extraordinary, a celebration of you. Then they didn't want it to be so long, so we cut the extraordinary. It ended up being a celebration of you. But it's really a celebration of the everyday things in life, a celebration of the things that you feel, the celebration of external, the internal, the existential, and that's, yeah. I'm not sure, because it's so different than the rest of my books, how to feel about how it will be received. So we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, hopefully you don't have to go and buy a copy of the Places You'll Go for every single graduate that you have in your life, because they already have 10 copies.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because we're just talking about Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast, so the Whodunit, a holiday mystery, and as of this recording, we're in September, and then you're talking about A Celebration of You, and that's going to be released in March, and you're talking about that being a graduation book. Is it normal to have books come out 3 months before?
Yeah, 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
Late July, early August is when the Halloween books come out. It's always like that. Yeah.
Huh.
The holiday season books come out around mid to late September, early October at the latest, because the stores have to order them.
Right.
Have to have them in stock. They have to be printed and shipped at the right times from the warehouse, all that stuff. So, and you want to have them in the shops by mid-November. And so, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I mean, when you take a glance at Whodonut, it doesn't necessarily scream holidays. It it says a holiday mystery as a subtitle, but it's
Right.
pretty small. Obviously, I'll pump that up as the holidays get closer. But for right now, I've been more pushing it as, it's just another adventure. It happens to be during the holidays. That's a funny thing too. The throughout the process of making these books, the publisher, I've had 7 different editors for the Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast series. Yes, there are 7 books, but and it's not a one-to-one thing. Sometimes I had multiple editors. There's a lot of moving around in publishing. It's just how it is with in editorial world, to get raises, to get new jobs, etc. I mean, it's not great. It would be awesome if it was the same person who's super invested, but I like my editors now. I've liked all of them, and so originally throughout the whole process, none of them wanted a holiday book. And
Hmm.
they always said, no, 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 we don't want a holiday book. And I was like, okay. Then finally, with this one here, they said, hey, would sales and marketing want this one to be a holiday book? Could you do that? And so I was like, okay, I will make it a holiday book as I write it. So this was because sales and marketing did want a holiday book, finally. The funny thing is, The Case of the Stinky Stench, book number 2, when I wrote that, it was not under contract or anything. I had seen the first book and I was like, I'm going to try to write another one. I don't know if they're going to want it, but hopefully they do. And they told me I originally wrote it as a holiday book because I thought sequels are often not as good as the first, right? Sequels are often very disappointing. So I thought, what is a way to make it so that people don't dislike a sequel? And my cheat that I came up with was make it a holiday book. Nobody dislikes holidays. So that one originally was a holiday book. When I sent
Okay.
it to them, they said, we love it, but we want to sell it year round. Can you take out the holidays? And so I did. I rearranged it and took out the holiday foods. And, during revisions, stuff like that happens all the time. I will say the culprit is still a holiday food. The stinky stench is a holiday food. But it's no longer a very good mystery because once you get to the stinky stench, there's no clues anymore because it's not a holiday book. So it's like,
Right.
I don't know. But yeah, spoiler alert, if you haven't read it, that book's been out since 2017. So that's on you. The stinky stench is a fruitcake. And
It's always a fruitcake. It's
yeah,
always a
of course.
fruitcake.
It's
Yeah.
the fruitcake. And so the fruitcake is the holiday stinky stench, right? And so, but instead of it being there from 3 years ago, now it was there from 8 months ago. Yeah, so the originally it was supposed to be a holiday book. um, and and so but yeah, the fruitcake was I took out a scene that had um, a gingerbread village with lemonade spillage, which wasn't really a great rhyme. There were potato latkes in Applesauce River. I changed them to tater tots. There was a whole bunch of other things throughout the holidays. There was a peanut soup lake, which is a traditional Kwanzaa dish. I changed that and made it a different kind of soup. It was corn chowder lake now. So yeah, ultimately it's just a regular old book, and the villain happens to be a holiday food, or the
Right.
cult, not really villain, but yeah.
So because you mentioned at the top of that before we started recording that you have a subscriber list. So if people want to follow you, they can go to joshfunkbooks.com and subscribe to your
Yeah, I have a
email list.
mailing list where I have a fun tradition, which if you subscribe to the Patreon to this podcast, you can hear a little bit about it. A fun tradition of the winter solstice ironing board, and I usually talk about it on my mailing list, but you can get all the details on the Patreon for Storycomic as well.
Right. Yeah. Excellent. So as we mentioned too, is like, so you're here talking a little bit about a couple of your books. One that's coming out in a few months called "The Celebration of You," and your other book that just came out imminently, which is book 7 of the Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast, was "Whodunit," a holiday mystery. And you kind of said this might be the last Lady Pancake, Sir French Toast.
Well, it's publishing is a business, and getting 7 picture books out of a picture book series is a lot, considering it's not a New York Times bestseller. It's a very good seller. This series as a whole, through a year ago, including 6 books, has sold over 250,000 copies, which is a lot.
Wow. Yeah,
but it's still this publisher was bought by a bigger publisher, and so things are a little up in the air right now. So this may be the last one. As you read into the book, you may see parallels between me and Agatha Christie. Agatha Christie is reading the last book in the Miss Maple series. But at the end, she says something about writing new characters might be a treat. So it's possible that we will hopefully have some news to share. I mean, knowing publishing, it'll be in like a year and a half. But yeah, so this is not the end for Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast, at least not for me.
right.
And I think Brendan's on board too with whatever we do next. So.
Right. Excellent. And well, Josh, you're gonna have to come back on again. Not every couple years. I mean, we'll try to at least every 100 episodes or so. We should have a Josh Funk interview.
All right, sounds good to me.
Yeah,
I'm free in. Are you free in 2027 April? Maybe does that sound good?
yes, I think so. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. We'll work it out.
We'll work it out. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Josh. I really enjoy these conversations.
Thanks for having me, Barney. It's a great podcast. I really appreciate you inviting me again.